Caitlyn is known to always follow Jinx, almost like she has this obsession over capturing her that now seems to hold true in Arcane as well. So, can this lead to a lot of unhealthy relationships? Reactions? Is this unhealthy? First, let's cover what obsession is. Obsession is a recurring thought of something or someone where it's always seems to be in a person's mind. I would also like to note that obsession doesn't always mean that there is a mental diagnosis attached to it. For example, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I won't be diving into mental illnesses or even OCD. I just want to see if Caitlyn Kierman has an obsession and if it will affect her in the future. Strictly show related. Now, with this in mind, it's time to brief you on all that I've learned and read. There are debates of the origins of where obsession stems from. It could be genetic, as in someone could inherit obsession through DNA. Another example that's in the same alley as genetics is that a person's brain might have a chemical difference that might make one more likely to have obsessions. On top of that, there is environmental factors like high levels of stress that can cause obsession. But as I previously mentioned, it is still up for debate among psychologists. There are many forms of obsession. Here are the types that could affect one's way of living. First is perfectionism, which is the overwhelming fear of making mistakes, doing something wrong, or leaving things out of place. Second is relational, which is overwhelming doubt and worries about the rightness of a relationship. It did specify romantic relationships, but because this seems more relationship focused, it could relate to platonic, but I'm not a professional. Third is contamination. This involves the fears of physical or moral contamination. Physical in the sense of bacteria, germs, chemicals, and or illnesses. And moral as in something or someone that is perceived to be bad. Fourth is causing harm. This is related to harming oneself or others. Fifth is intrusive thoughts. These are frightening, dangerous, inappropriate, or repulsive thoughts one could have. These aren't the only types. There's also fear of losing control, sexual obsessions, and worrying that you didn't do something that you should have, which, if you think about it, are things that could be categorized with the types I mentioned previously. But moving on. With obsession comes compulsions. At least in most cases, they can develop compulsions. These are used to try and deal with obsessions or obtrusive thoughts. Now, let's dive deeper to relational obsession. Within relational obsession, there is codependency. Codependency refers to a way a person behaves within a relationship. Now, it does say that the person is overly concerned about the other person in the relationship. I'll put this to use in a somewhat different terms while also trying to maintain the same meaning. Before I dive in though, I know I should have rewatched the series before I wrote my thoughts on how this relates to Caitlyn. But, I didn't want to relive those emotions. Instead, I have skimmed through and hoped that my memory is correct. So, with that out of the way, let's talk all things Caitlyn Kierman. Caitlyn may have nice things around her and a friend, and nothing physically happens to her that could lead to drastic emotional scars. But besides all that, I think she is constantly in a high-stress environment, from dealing with her mother and trying to prove she can do more for Piltover as an enforcer, even dealing with the Piltover enforcers themselves. She's always being constantly looked down upon. This is what drives her choices. Putting all these into perspective and her putting pressure on herself is what can cause a constant stress environment. This is what is constantly on her mind and what makes her disobey orders from Sheriff Marcus. Anyways, there is one specific scene I want to point out. This scene where Jace tries to talk to Cassandra, Caitlyn's mother. I feel like this establishes what their relationship is like. Later, we find out how her mother behaves along with her father, but we're gonna mainly focus on her mother here. Her mother is a councilwoman, and well, this instant tells me that her mother has been keeping a short leash on her. She wants Caitlyn to follow in her footsteps, not to be part of the Piltover Enforcer Department. Cassandra keeps a watchful eye on Caitlyn, even as going as far to be able to have her patrol an area that Cassandra will be able to see her from during Progress Day. Events happen after that lead her to want to know the culprit behind all the explosions. But I am going to backtrack a bit. There's a scene where Caitlyn is training with the former sheriff, Sheriff Grayson. Her mother wonders where she is, and Caitlyn is out there being free from the party that her mother wants her to attend. With Sheriff Grayson, Caitlyn doesn't have the pressure of living the high society life and becoming the next councilwoman. Instead, she now has set a goal in mind. First, beating Sheriff Grayson in the game that they are playing. Second, becoming the next sheriff. Now, back to Progress Day. With the things that happen during and after Progress Day, this is what leads her to want to solve what's going on. Granted, she had already been doing so since Jinx seems to leave her mark anywhere she has a job. Back to Caitlyn. Not listening to anyone and wanting to find the answers herself causes this codependency with the case, not in particular with Jinx. At least, not yet. What causes the codependency to Jinx is the need to bring her to justice. That comes when Caitlyn breaks Vi out and learns more about Zaun, or the Undercity. Caitlyn begins seeing how life is down there and learns how Jinx is or was. Caitlyn learns that the one behind it all was Silco, but still believes, even with his hand on it, Jinx has to pay for her crimes. Vi feels responsible and attempts to stop Caitlyn, but it all ends terribly. Caitlyn has this obsession with morals and wanting justice, which can be admirable, but can also cause more pain or trouble to others or herself even. This going hand in hand with what I have previously talked about, the codependency, which could be relational obsession, and contamination, which can be seen with the last scene when Jinx and Caitlyn are in a standoff. Now, am I saying that Caitlyn has a problem with obsession? Yes. Could this potentially affect her in the future? Most likely. By the looks of it, that missile that gets shot at the council will drive her to find Jinx, maybe even blur her sense of what justice is. This could also potentially affect her relationship with Vi. It's currently an open wound that they will both need to heal that will eventually turn into a scar. But even with them both sharing one last scene with each other, they are going to have a long road ahead, both wanting to find Jinx, both wanting answers, and both wanting to navigate a world that is possibly at the brink of a civil war. Caitlyn's obsession with Jinx will still be playing a role in this coming season. At least I think it is. While Vi may have had an obsession with Powder, now she only sees Jinx. Thanks so much for watching. This has definitely been a topic I wanted to discuss, although it's not as thorough as I would have liked it. It's been fun to look back at the first season. Leave a comment if you think Caitlyn has an obsession, or any thoughts on season 1 and your excitement for season 2. Season 2 has actually been announced to be releasing next year, so if you want me to dive deeper with Caitlyn, comment down below, like I said, or I'll possibly be doing a different character. For now, subscribe and turn on that notification bell to see when I upload. You have been briefed. This has been a new setup. This is a new setup. Wow. This is, yeah, I don't know if you guys like this. I don't know if I'll continue this. and I don't know how I feel about the script, but I hope you enjoyed. I am gonna be back with some more videos and maybe a Christmas themed one. I'm still looking into that because it's December. So happy holidays if I'm not back in time for that. And happy New Year. For now, yeah, that's it. Once again, you have been briefed.